Hello, everyone. My name is Devin Ariel, and I'm here to share with all of y'all my experience growing up as a melanated woman of the trans experience. Like most trans folk, I often felt like I was a visitor in my own body and that I never fully felt comfortable being the sex I was assigned at birth. Of course, like most kids who grow up different, I was bullied the entire time I was in school, whether it was kids from my neighborhood or kids I went to school with. There was always like some bully that was in my life that was just giving me hell. I think that even my family, even at that age, knew that there was something that was different about me. I remember my mom going to the store or something and me going to her closet and trying on her shoes and her dresses and her jewelry and putting on like a t-shirt over my head and pretending like I was Rapunzel, like just, and I remember feeling like the most myself in those times, even if it was just like 30 minutes or an hour, like before she got home and me trying to like run and like rush and put all her stuff back the way that she had it so she didn't notice that I was trying on her stuff. I do know now that she knew that I was trying on her stuff, but she, just kind of played it cool and allowed for me to have my process. And I appreciate my mother for that. I was raised in a heavy Christian background. My parents did not play. I knew super early on that if I was anything other than straight, that I was going to be on a all expense paid vacation, extended vacation to the fiery pits. And that's what I grew up knowing and being in my subconscious. And I just remember praying, God, please, please make me straight, make me normal. I just want to be like everybody else. I don't want to have to be having these feelings and going through like this huge like struggle in my life. I just wanted to be done with it. So I did this for several years up until I was like around 14. And that's when it just felt like everything that I was experiencing and all of the pain and the suffering, the confusion that I was going through just felt like such a heavy burden. And I just wanted to be done with it. I wanted to end it. I wanted to end my life. I didn't want to live anymore. And I'm not afraid to say it. Like if I'm going to come on here and I'm going to be honest about my life, like I have to be honest about the happy times. I have to be honest about the not so happy times. And this was a very, very, very low point in my life where I contemplated suicide. I even attempted a few times, unbeknownst to my family. I was able to keep that a secret. And luckily, I did not succeed. Gratefully, I didn't succeed. And I'm able to be here with you today. But after that point, I kind of had like what they say, a come into Jesus moment. And I realized that, hey, like girlfriend, it didn't work. You're still here. So you might as well make the best out of this life that you've been given, find your purpose and do it unapologetically. And at that point, I was prepared to lose everyone that I loved in an effort to find myself. So a few days after that, I decided to come out to my mom first. And I remember telling her that, Mom, I need to talk to you about something, like sit down. She came up to my room and we sat and we talked. And I told her, Mom, I'm gay. I'm attracted to men or boys, should I say. And she said, that she already knew, that she suspected it. And that even though she didn't fully understand my attraction, she still loved me and that her love for me wouldn't change and that she was still my mom. And that was, I felt a huge burden just drop off of my shoulders. And I felt instantly in that moment, like, things are going to be okay. Will be fine. Now, my dad wasn't the same story. I asked for my mom, I said, please do not tell daddy until I'm ready. I need to get ready. There was a whole nother like game plan and thing of attack I was trying to do for him. So just to give y'all a little backstory on me and my dad's relationship, it was always kind of strained with us growing up. I remember being super feminine and him never liking for me to show feminine characteristics and him trying to take different routes to induct me into boyhood and, steer me in the right direction, should I say. And I just remember it just always pushing us further away and me just hating that he would do it, and me just not feeling like that's who I was. And he didn't understand, and he didn't know what it was like to have a child like me. And this was, I was his first child, let alone his first like transgender child. So that was like a really big thing. And I don't feel like that's something that's talked about enough within the trans community, is what it's like for the parents to have a child who's different. Because a lot of the times it's not always about the parent accepting their child. It's about, the fears that they have around their child being trans or being gay or lesbian or non-binary, whatever that means. They know that it means that you're different. And they know that because you're different, that you're going to go through things, and that it's going to be more difficult for you to navigate life throughout the world, because our society doesn't accept fully individuals like us. During the years to follow at school, I remember having a lot more confidence and standing up to those bullies and letting them know that I wasn't down for it anymore. I started to use humor and wit, and sometimes even these fists. I remember saying that, hey, like, if it came down to it, I was going to defend myself at any cost. And, my hands, even though I was gay, my hands were bisexual, and anybody could get it at any time. Now, the downside to that is that I know I stepped on a lot of people's toes. There were probably a lot of people who didn't like me during that time, just because I really was like not taking anything. I was no nonsense. If you came for me, I was going to come for you right back, and you weren't going to like how I was going to come for you. So that was how I was during that time. If I could explain my attraction, I was never really attracted to gay men. And I don't think they were even really attracted to me either. I know most of the time they would tell me that I was too fishy. For those who don't know what fishy means, it means that I'm too woman-like. My mannerisms were too much of a woman. And so, I didn't really like have gay guys like really into me like that. And the ones that were, I wasn't really feeling, I didn't really want to be referred to as a boy or girl at the time, because I felt like it was too limiting. And having a term like androgynous allowed for me the freedom to explore my gender without the confines of what it meant to be just a boy or just a girl. And that was great for me, because it was something that I really needed at that time, to be able to find out exactly what my path would be. By this time, I was like 16 years old. I had naturally long hair, like down to like the middle of my back. And I remember it taking like so much pride in my hair, and always wanted to make sure it looked good. I would go to the salon like every 2 weeks and get it laid and slayed by my beautician at the time, Ms. Val. Shout out to you, Ms. Val. I love you. I miss you. My hair is natural now. Like I have locks, but back then it was nothing but straight hair. Like I loved keeping my hair straight and just taking a lot of pride in it. It allowed for me to feel more feminine, more like myself. If you remember that story I told you about, me putting on like the t-shirt over my head and pretending like I was Rapunzel and stuff, that was like, I felt like I was living it. And I started wearing more tighter fitting clothes and paying attention to how I was filling them out, because I was just like, oh, I need to look thick. I need to look, like I got like something around. I definitely wasn't a boy, but I didn't really feel like I was all the way a girl either. It wasn't until my experience at a youth institute, I'm not going to name it because I don't think it's even still going on, but basically it got together a bunch of different students from local high schools, and we all got together in this location for like a week, and they taught us about the different isms, like racism, classism, genderism, sexism. And during this time, I just learned so much about, all of these things, that all these concepts that I just had never really, I guess, grasped at that point. But in the midst of that, I found the term transgender. And, I had seen people, I guess, who were transgender or transsexual presented on TV, like shows like Jerry Springer and Maury and stuff like that, where they come out and be like surprised, like I'm a man. And that was never attractive to me. That was never alluring. I never wanted to be labeled as someone like that. And so I think that was part of like me not really taking ownership of that term at that time. But the way that it was presented to me in this institute, it like really clicked for me. And all of a sudden, like, I just felt like this like flood of emotions, like come about with me. And I felt like, oh my gosh, like I finally I finally know myself. I finally understand what I've been feeling all of these years. And I mean, I just remember like that whole time, just like crying and just finally feeling like, oh my gosh, this is who I am. And I had such a sense of identity leaving that institute that week. And I remember coming home to my parents. I had another coming out, and I remember having all of my materials that I had learned, and I broke it down for them. I was like, yeah, y'all, I know like a couple years ago, like I told you that like I was gay, but actually really this is what it is. Like actually I'm really transgender. I'm a transgender woman. And, you know, of course, like my parents were like, kind of like, okay, we just kind of got used to having a gay son. Now you're telling us that we have a transgender daughter. You want us to call you she. Yeah. I remember the first day that I started taking my hormones. It was, I want to say maybe like my junior year of high school. And I remember waking up super early that morning and saying like, today is the first day of the rest of my life. Like I'm starting like going into girlhood, and, you know, I'm going to like be a woman, and I can't wait for my breasts to fill out and my body to fill out and for me to get like a butt, you know, because I thought like these are all the things that were going to happen. Right. If you're trans and you're watching this, you know, it doesn't quite happen like that. But I thought that like the moment that I took this pill that my life was going to change. And it did, but it wasn't as drastic as it changing like literally overnight. It took obviously several years for me to develop certain secondary sex characteristics that a woman of my age would develop, but eventually I did. So I was 17. I had just started my hormones. I remember going back to school and, you know, telling my friends and telling everybody that I went to school with, like, hey, like, no longer refer to me as he or him. I am she and her pronouns, please and thank you. And anybody that met me with that resistance, I was very vocal about, you know, getting my respect. I wanted to get respect any means necessary. And whether that be me fighting someone, me cursing somebody out, or whatever it was, I needed to have the respect. And even with my family, like, you know, it was a struggle and it was a battle to get them to start to refer to me as she and her. Even to this day, I still have members of my family that slip and call me him. And it's been like 12 years now. Yeah. So, you know, I get it. It's a challenge for everyone, especially like when that person starts their life being one gender and then transitioning to the next. But the only thing I'll have to say about any of the families who may be going through something like this, to the families and to the person who is transitioning, just have patience. Have patience, assert a little bit of, you know, tenderness, and allow for the situation to come to a normal point where everyone feels like that they are being respected. So for the trans people, just be patient with your family. And for the families of people who may be trans, just do your best to remember and respect pronouns, because in that delicate time of someone transitioning from one gender to the next, something as little as just referring to them as their proper pronouns, I will tell you, makes a huge difference. Huge difference. I want to personally thank everybody who tuned in to hear my story. If it touched you, or if you know somebody else that it could touch, definitely hit that share button. And if you want to see more content that's going to be uploaded to my channel, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button, all that jazz. And I look forward to seeing y'all soon.